Happy 2023. If you didn't tax harvest, then you're too late at this point.
For the new year, because everyone was selling their NFTs at huge losses, sometimes maybe a bit fabricated, i.e. selling way below what they're actually worth. But the idea is that if you sell your NFT for a major loss, it can offset your capital gains from other investments.
How does the government look at NFTs? Is it like Bitcoin? Is it a commodity or is it property?
When you buy an NFT, the purchase price is the USD equivalent of the crypto you paid for the NFT. And then when you sell it, it's the reverse.
A lot of people get into crypto and they have no idea how to account for, NFTs, tokens, and we're not tax experts by any stretch of the imagination. We have experience paying taxes in crypto, but this is not advice by any stretch of the imagination, just more so a summary of our experience. So
every time you convert funds from one currency to another, a currency to an NFT, etc., those are all taxable events. I think the only thing that doesn't get taxed is if you transfer something amongst your own wallet addresses.
Hey everybody, welcome to Missing Links with John, Brock, and myself, Stephen King, where we discuss what's missing in Web3 architecture. For feedback, please go to missinglinks.fm, send us an email, give us some feedback on what we discuss and what you'd like us to cover next week. All right, let's get into it.
All right, hey everybody. Happy 2023, Brachiosaurus. Welcome to Missing Links. What's happening?
Not a whole lot, just hanging out.
Just hanging out in good old Texas. All right. Well, so we're late on the taxes in terms of if you didn't tax harvest, then you're too late at this point. But we thought it would be an interesting thing to touch on. And that coupled with a lot of these AI tools that are coming out that are pretty interesting and can be used in the development of Web3 products. So, but the tax stuff is relevant in terms of a lot of people get into crypto and they have no idea how to account for, NFTs, tokens, and we're not tax experts by any stretch of the imagination. We have experience paying taxes in crypto, but this is not advice by any stretch of the imagination, just more so a summary of our experience. So, Brachiosaurus, we were just talking about tax harvesting and NFTs. So why don't you kind of kick things off?
Yeah, this was super relevant before the new year because everyone was selling their NFTs at huge losses, sometimes maybe a bit fabricated, i.e. selling way below what they're actually worth. But the idea is that if you sell your NFT for a major loss, it can offset your capital gains from other investments. So maybe you had real estate that appreciated this year and you made money on that. But if you sell an NFT at a loss, there can be an offset.
Is it hard, though, to sell an NFT? Like, it's not like you can just liquidate it like Bitcoin or ETH. My experience with NFTs, even if, I've got a parcel in Decentraland, and I've been trying to offload that bloody thing, even during the bull market. And I have not been able to get rid of that thing, even when Decentraland was a thing. And I don't know. It reminds me of real estate because it's very illiquid, but you've had different experiences?
It depends on what you're trying to get rid of. So a lot of these NFTs that people are harvesting, they're selling them for essentially $0. So there's services out there where you can send a contract address to your NFT, and the contract will send you back like 0.00001 ETH, so like pennies. And so that counts as like a tax loss. So you're selling your NFT, but you're basically throwing it away.
What a great idea as a service.
Right?
I had no idea that existed.
Yeah, I mean, you get nothing back. So like in the Decentraland case, you could throw it away and count it as a loss, but you can't. Yes, like trying to sell it for what it's worth is very difficult if there's not a lot of volume.
Did you do this? Did you have NFTs that you wrote down?
Yeah, I didn't throw any away, but I picked a few that were still that were in collections that were semi at some volume and just like undercut the floor slightly. So like there was one collection that I think the floor price was 0.05, but there were offers out at 0.04. So I just accepted those offers to sell my NFTs and harvested like half an ETH.
And how does the government look at NFTs? Is it like Bitcoin? Is it a commodity, or is it property?
I think they count it as property. So it's when you buy an NFT, the purchase price is the USD equivalent of the crypto you paid for the NFT. And then when you sell it, it's the reverse.
Okay. Yeah, this stuff gets kind of interesting in terms of like with tokens. It's very complicated because, like with staking, we're moving from one currency to another. It's some are taxable events, some aren't taxable events. We talked a little bit about when we were down in Bogota, the idea of the staking service that basically wants to swap in a different staking service, but leaving their, like, let's say they've got 100 ETH staked and they want to get out of that position and let's like a new entity in, or a different entity that they own. Well, there's a a tax consequence if you do that. But if you can do things like Lido is a good example, because if you go from like ETH to I forget the acronym for staked Lido, but it's Steth or I'm not sure what it is, but yeah, so you're not really creating or destroying value, but I'm almost positive that you have to pay a tax every time you're in and out of that, which is it doesn't really make a lot of sense, but maybe that's coming down the pipe this year.
Yeah, my understanding, again, definitely not a tax expert, but my understanding is every time you convert funds from one currency to another, a currency to an NFT, etc., those are all taxable events. I think the only thing that doesn't get taxed is if you transfer something amongst your own wallet addresses.
Yeah, like if I send ETH to myself or something like that.
Right. Yep.
Which that makes sense. I mean, if that was taxed, that would be insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm surprised that somebody hasn't created, though, a tax contract where you could almost, or like a wallet almost, that's a smart contract that you like, it just I mean, everything's documented, but that just like calculates your taxes, based on everything that comes in and goes out. And, you'd have to start with some kind of a basis. I guess it would be a complex thing to do unless you could almost program it yourself. But instead of having to go through like all the different exchanges and all the different, centralized, decentralized, and then you get all these printouts, right? And then you've got to go through all these transactions. And there's companies now that'll do that for you. And I'm sure you can do it programmatically, like you can do it in Excel, dump it all in there. But it would just make sense, right? If you could somehow do that through a wallet. Well, I guess you can, right? You just use the same wallet every time.
Yes. Yes-ish. So as long as you're doing everything on chain, there's at least a history that you could look back on. Centralized exchanges, that's a black box, so you have to rely on them to send you your info. But even in the decentralized world, say you go from like one obscure token to another, like if you're trading altcoins for some reason, or swapping an NFT for another NFT, trying to get a cost basis on those is almost impossible.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, yeah, if you're starting with ETH and then you go to an NFT, there's different, because they're categorized differently, and it's, that's a real pain in the neck. I guess that brings in, so I've been playing around with like Browse AI. So this is it's basically a plugin that allows you it mirrors what you do. So if I wanted to scrape email addresses, from a particular website, I could use this, and I could go to Product Hunt And, maybe Product Hunt's not a good example of emails, but let's say I wanted to scrape the products that are on Product Hunt. Well, I could click I could go into Product Hunt and I could basically do it once, click a product and highlight it and then dump it into an Excel spreadsheet. And I could get whatever other information I want. And then this program will mimic what you do using AI. So maybe there's something, there for crypto and taxes where, you could basically do the same thing to go through all your transactions and do things a bit more programmatically. That seems like a big opportunity. There's got to be something out there that either does this or that will do this.
Well, so there's whole companies around this. Like, what is it? Coin Tracker, I think CoinList. Anyways, there's a few that are trying to offer tax products, but they all suck at getting a baseline. If you do anything that's not where one side of the equation isn't, say, Ethereum, it doesn't really know what to do with it. And it only gets worse if you have multiple addresses.
The other thing too is that it's you go cross chain too. So now MetaMask, yes, it's great. You can go between Avalanche and Ethereum and Solana, and we're dealing with this at Indexing Co, grabbing all of the data. Creating a bridge for all that information is not a trivial task. So it's it's a very complicated thing. I'm going to look into those companies because I wonder if they've created an automated way. Because in some point in time, you're going to be able to use a program and just basically give it an address, and it's going to be able to spit out, okay, here's what you owe in taxes.
Well, so that's exactly what it tries to do, or at least less so what you owe, because that's based on other factors, but at least give you a profit and loss statement. It's these are your capital gains or your capital losses. There's just I don't know, in my use of them over the last few years and what I've seen from others, it seems like probably about 30% of transactions are mislabeled, don't have a correct baseline, or in some way need to be edited manually.
Yeah, that's been my experience as well. So I've been using ChatGPT. There's something called Merlin, which is basically, it's just like ChatGPT that follows you around the web. And for going through, asking it tax questions, hey, how is this particular transaction taxed? Or I can't think of too many examples right now, but it's helpful in way Google, you can Google this stuff and it gives you, 5 ads, and then it gives you a bunch of, websites, and it's usually crap that people write, and they don't really give you any direction. Whereas ChatGPT actually gives you good examples. And so I feel like somebody's going to tackle this problem through the APIs that are being released through either OpenAI or one of the others, and make that 30% that you're talking about, a little bit easier and less manual. Because I imagine that 30% that you're talking about, you have to manually go through and change those and then kind of categorize them on your own, right?
Yeah.
Or do you let your accountant do it?
No, I spare them. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was just saying there's lots of, there's lots of low hanging fruit out there, because even simple things when you go mint an NFT, when you purchase it for the first time, often you can purchase multiple. So if you purchase 3 of the same thing in one transaction, I have yet to see a tax solution that understands, okay, take the amount that I paid and divide it by 3. So it's 1/3 for each of the things I just purchased.
And what's your basis if you're actually the minter? If you mint it from nothing? 0?
Well, it's whatever price you pay. So if it's a free mint, then your basis is 0.
Okay. Or the gas, I guess, that you pay to mint it.
Yeah, gas is, I need to look into this more, but I believe gas is not factored in as part of the price one way or the other. You can write it off. as like a fee, I think, but it's not part of the purchase or sell price.
I had no idea you could do that. And I have
Don't
paid
quote me
quite a
on
bit in
it,
gas.
but yeah,
No,
I think
but
that's.
I'm gonna look into that for sure. Because there's like last year, maybe it was last year, the year before last year. Yeah, in the bull markets, you pay a substantial amount in gas fees. In fact, I don't even like to look at it because it makes me feel sick.
Yeah, because I think you can roughly view it as like if you pay a financial advisor or if you pay like a fee on trades in Robinhood or whatever it might be. Like if there's a fee associated with doing the investment, I think that's the equivalent of gas.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll take a look at that. Well, okay, so it's definitely not too late to be thinking about these concepts, but yeah, in terms of tax harvesting is basically, yeah, you said it. I mean, you're taking a loss so that you can not pay so much in taxes. If you feel like you're going to take a loss on it anyway, like if you think these either tokens or NFTs aren't going to come back to life, and I tried to dump they were puts in a medical company, and you can't do that in that world. There's no company that'll just come. I tried to sell them for at a significant loss because they're expiring January 20th. I knew, like, unless something happens to this company in the next 2 weeks, I know that they're going to be worthless. But that's nice that there are companies in crypto that do that, and I wonder what their business model is. Is there hope that these things, there is value that comes back in the next bull market?
No, I think it's just so it's less of a service and literally just it's a contract that's out there. And so if you send it in NFT, it'll send you like fractions of a penny in Ethereum back just to like show a transaction on chain. And so I know, crazy. I think it was Coin Tracker is the one that like got kind of famous because there's this like funny and they called it Harvest Store with a bunch of O's. So yeah, it's just a contract on chain.
It's just a landfill basically for digital junk.
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's really cool. It's a great idea.
The other thing that's interesting in the crypto world with taxes is wash trades are totally A-OK. Like the IRS has said that those are fine. So if it's December 31st and you want to take a loss on Ethereum, you can sell it December 31st and buy it back January 1st.
Really?
Yeah.
So now I wish we had this conversation a week ago because I didn't know that either.
Yeah. Who is it? Michael Saylor, like the Bitcoin maxi. He, I think, did this with Bitcoin. Like he just sold a bunch, and I'm assuming he bought it right back.
You're right. I read that, but I didn't. Yeah, I guess I didn't put even. I just saw the headline that he sold it and took it back and bought it back, and makes sense that he would do that for tax purposes.
Yeah, I mean, especially in his case, I don't know that this is him, but other cryptocurrencies, especially with smaller market caps, if you're like a large shareholder, you could sell the currency, drop the price, buy it right back. Like you take the hit on taxes and you get the benefit of buying in lower.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I mean, this is why like having a good an accountant or tax person it's been hard because even if you do in the traditional financial world, I guess they don't know anything about crypto. Nobody knows anything about crypto because it changes all the time.
Nobody does.
And it's I just try to overpay a little bit and just hope that, because it gets so complex that it's like, look, I'm just going to give you guys a little bit more money, and I did my best.
Yep. I think that's the gist. As long as you're not actively trying to hide something or underpay, you're going to be fine.
Well, you can't hide anything. It's all, it's all out there. So it's all going to get to you one way or the other.
Like I think what is it? You only have to keep taxes for 3 years now. I highly doubt the IRS is going to catch up to crypto taxes in 3 years.
Well, I don't know. They hired 88,000 people. So Seems
you
like
can't knock on the door of Bitcoin.
Yeah, just all the people that interact with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, again, I wish we had this conversation a week ago because, well, anyway, so this year though, I didn't sell that much last year in compared to other years, and so hopefully, it won't be that much. But going forward, let's talk about going forward. So
yes,
we won't talk about this too long, but we'll do the AI discussion next week. But before we close, have you seen the price of Solana? It dipped below $10.
I did see that. Yeah.
Did you buy?
I did not. Did you?
Brock. Yeah, I think Solana is going to be my big bet this year, and I think it's how we're going to fund the indexing company. I honestly, because this happened to Ethereum in 2018. Everybody said Ethereum's dead; it's never going to be around, and it was so different from Bitcoin, and the only way that you could really know that, I guess, is if you were building on it. You could understand the value. And Solana, everybody thinks that it's trying to be this Ethereum killer. Yes, they've had a lot of bumps in the road, but on a foundation, on the level that Ethereum was in 2018, they've had more problems than Ethereum. Ethereum did have problems, though. They're not. I don't think they're trying to compete with Ethereum. I think they've got a completely different use case. I think they've made different trade-offs that service different industries. And even if they didn't, I still think that there's enough building going on in that ecosystem where it just is like a really good bet to make. I don't know if it's this year or next year or when it is, but at some point I do believe it will come back.
That might be true if VCs aren't totally out of it. Like what I haven't dug too deep into it, but what I keep seeing is that developers are like, why does this exist? And the answer seems to keep being that it's just because VCs wanted to throw money at something.
Yeah, so I would make that case for EOS. EOS is
yes,
similar,
very similar.
There was never a community on EOS. There was just all speculators. However, I remember not too long ago, about a year and a half ago, where projects were jumping ship from Ethereum because it was the bull market and gas was too high, and they were all going to Solana. Now you're seeing the opposite. There's some projects that are coming back from Solana onto Ethereum because Ethereum gas prices. So Ethereum has its issues too, but I think that the projects that have stayed on Solana are around trading and derivatives, and that's what we need. We don't have that. We used to have that on ETH with synthetics, but there's no good derivatives that can be traded. It's just not a good ecosystem. It's better for NFTs and building smart contracts and things like that.
But I feel like that could or will be solved by, say, a layer 2 on top of Ethereum. So still in the same ecosystem, but just like a dedicated chain for it, not something that's trying to be fundamentally different.
I don't think it could be. You're right. It could be a side chain of ETH. And there could be, because then you can have a different consensus mechanism and you could speed things up and make the different trade-offs. But I think Solana has got enough infrastructure built at this point where I don't think that it'll be. They could exist on a small level on Ethereum, but I don't think it will. Solana is going to be the new reserve currency. Bitcoin's out, ETH is out, Solana's in.
All right, I'll take that as a soundbite.
I'm just joking, but I do think it's an asymmetric bet. You don't see things like this happen all too often with big projects take this big of a hit, and usually when you do, it's a pretty good bet as long as you can deal with, like, even EOS, even ETH. What is the when they forked? Remember how
like the Ethereum
ETH
Classic
forked in it. Yeah, Ethereum Classic. Yeah, even that came back. It may still exist. I don't even know.
It does. It's still in like the top 20 market cap or something.
See that right there.
Don't ask me why.
Just a good. That's the only reason that I guess you could make to do that if you don't believe in anything else. That these other, It's crazy. Yeah, it's a weird world.
Yeah. Do you know with Solana how like do they still have tokens locked up like for like founders and investors from the early days?
I'm sure they do because it was a 4-year vesting.
Okay.
So, but I'm not. Don't hold me to that. I'm not positive. The other thing too is that what drew me to Ethereum was the team and Vitalik and Anatoly is like Vitalik fits the mold for Ethereum, right? He's like the personality behind it, and Anatoly's kind of like the same for Solana. He's kind of he's very different from Vitalik, but he's a smart dude, and I don't know. He just kind of more reminds me of like a Wall Street kind of trading personality, whereas like Vitalik's more of like a scientist and I don't know. Every chain kind of has their own personality in terms of who leads it that kind of fits the ecosystem. So, but I think he can pull it off.
So like my biggest thing with Solana is the fact that they can turn it off. Like that just feels so wrong.
Yeah. I don't know enough about that to even comment other than like, I don't know if they have a plan to, anyway, you got to get jumping. Yeah. So we'll end it there. We'll hit the AI conversations next week. Thanks everybody for listening. Please leave us a review wherever you leave reviews, and we'll talk to you next week.